Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You're at the spot, the place, where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. How are you today? You good? Good. You're back at the spot, the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. We're going to the land down under. We're going to visit with Suellen Tomamichel. Brains, let me tell you, this woman has the courage of a lion, but the heart of a dove. She helps people that have ADHD, with their brilliance, because they're different. I believe that they're just trapped in a different place that we can't communicate with. I don't believe that they're extra, or however people want to interpret it, because she's not living with one, not two, but four. Her three sons and her husband all are on the spectrum of ADHD. And I tell you, it takes patience, it takes negotiation skills, it takes wisdom. But sometimes you just have to surrender, because it seems like she's more trapped than they are. So we're going to talk to her about that and a whole lot more. Hi, Suellen. How are you, honey?
I'm well, thank you, April, and hello, Brains.
Hey. She's talking to you guys. I am so glad that you're here with us, because you have a very unique story. I talk to people that have um, spouses where they realize that they're neurodivergent at an older age, but not four in one household. And again, the combination and the recipe of what their needs are, desires, or struggles are different based upon each one. So I give you your flowers here, now, and today, because I'm telling you, you got courage. A lot of people would have checked out. Now, you know that. Tell
Yeah,
us a
I
little bit
do.
about your
I do.
story.
I actually had somebody say that to me once that, yeah, I don't know how you do it, but yeah, any other mums would have just left.
They would have left. And then
Yep.
kind of understanding the differences between each one, because everybody's not the same, just
No.
on the regular spectrum. But when they have these special needs, trying to figure them out, getting them through school, just getting up every day with the daily routine. Let's backtrack a little bit. Let's hear a little bit about you and how this all began.
Okay, so we won't go back too far up, but my husband was on a farm and I was a store manager at Woolworths, or Safeway as it was at the time, and very busy, both of us. I would drive one direction 32 Ks and he would drive the other way to get to the farm. Lived in a very, very small community of 120 people, very small rural school, little hall,
Wow.
little milk bar, not much going on there. But I came from the city and he was third generation country. So yeah, it was really a lovely beginning. Yeah.
So how did you meet? How did you meet somebody, a city girl meeting a country boy? How'd you do that?
On the Love Boat, April.
Really?
Yes. Yep. We were on the same. We were on the Fair Star, dare I say, because I don't think it exists anymore. That was equivalent to the Princess. And we did the islands. I went on my own in a cabin. There was four of us girls. He went in a cabin of four, but all those men were from Ultima, where we came from. And
Wow.
he was the youngest. He was the baby. Mm.
And
Yeah.
he swooned you and said, "You know what? Come here, girl. I like you. You cute. Let me bring
Yeah,
you to this farm in
he
town."
used to whistle me. He's very good at whistling with the fingers in the mouth and whistle me across the way
Oh
of all
wow.
the sea of people. Yeah.
So you got married, moved
Yep.
to the country, and then what happened?
9 years later, because we were busy having a good time, we had children. The boys are 15 months and 12 months between each. And then by the time the youngest was about three, we realized that, whoa, this is really chaotic. The phone would ring and he would go silly, and I'd have to say, hold on a minute, I'll just quieten down my young man. And then we had vacation care for all three of them. And again, he stood on the top of the table and did a lot of shouting and telling off the teacher. So he was expelled from vacation care by the age of 4. And that was when a little bit of all that coming together it made me realize that he was extremely sensitive to sound and was reacting to it. So, a little bit later, then he was catching a bus, and same thing. He was suspended about every second week for 2 weeks. I said, "You're only punishing me, because I have to be the one that takes him to school, 32 k's one way and the back, and I work full time." So it fell on deaf ears. Nobody really understood what we were going through, but sure,
Wow.
that's how it went. We changed schools to a Catholic school for him because of the issues on the bus and the issues he had in primary school. So at this stage, he would have been about 7. We then were given some Ritalin which I don't think they do anymore. The GP sort of gave us a bit of a sample, and oh my goodness, that was heaven.
Really? That helped?
Yeah, straight away, because you have Ritalin and it lasts for 4 hours in your system. So we worked out a plan. 8 a.m. in the morning would get him to school, and at the 11:30, 12 o'clock, they'd take him out of a class to give him the midday one, which would then help with school in the arvo, but certainly get him home in one piece, or well,
Mm,
everybody else in one piece.
wow.
Yeah, so it was a pretty crazy, crazy time.
Let me interject right here, though, because
Certainly. Yep.
I want to ask you a question about the Ritalin. I don't know anything about this, brains. Again, I'm starting from scratch. But I have a friend that has a son that they put on Ritalin, and uh, apparently he needed it. Calmed him down, everything was fine. But now they've taken him off, and just the behavior that I saw was pretty erratic. And I say erratic because, a lot of movement, activity, eye flittering, the continent features as far as talking and all that was fine. But other activities. What I was concerned is you can't go back and forth with this. If you're on it, you're on it, or you're out, you're out. Is it like an allergy that you grow out of? Is it like and again, I'm speaking from layman's terms. Is it,
Certainly.
I don't understand because
Okay.
it seems like it would really help him, but also it could distract him or cause more problems by just taking him off. I mean, you
Yep.
don't just take people off their diabetes medicine or something. I don't get it.
No. Okay. So Ritalin and all the other, or most of the other ADHD medications are instant. So they happen within the first 10 minutes. They're active and then they wear off. So they're not something like if you were having an antidepressant where you're really informed that it's not going to work for a couple of weeks. So stay on it and then you've got to be weaned off. It doesn't work like that. Secondly, anybody, particularly boys that are on ADHD, are not very mature. They're about 5 to 8 years behind in many aspects. So, taking that into account, if they're on Ritalin, and in my experience, when being on Ritalin at a young age, you can only then think, well, they've learnt some really good um, strategies and things to help them, and they've learned to work with community and people. And
So
that's
when
which,
they're in the, I don't, brains, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be strange, but these are the terms that I know how to use. When
yep,
they're when
sure.
they're when they're at a more leveled out or more not as hyper state, then you're able to teach them coping skills and coping tools.
Yes.
Okay, so when you're in that state, you're fine. But then when you're off the medication, that is something in your arsenal or your toolbox that you can say, oh, I learned this based upon that.
There is a little bit of that. And of course, anything that I'm saying here today. Every human being is very different.
Absolutely different. But I'm trying to frame it
Yes,
because
yes, I
again, I
see.
don't I don't, it's like going up and down. I don't
Yep,
know how beneficial that could be. Is again,
yeah,
I'll use diabetes for
yeah,
example. Someone with high blood sugar. Okay, well, people will say, "Oh, well, I had a piece of cake. I'll take a little bit more insulin," or
yeah.
my blood sugar is low. Let me have a bunch of orange juice, this, that, and the other. They're playing with it instead of trying to level it out. So I'm just trying to figure out
Okay,
when
so
to level
it
out.
brings to mind an example for you, April, is when we were having visitors and they had young children too. We used to give Bryn Ritalin before they arrived
Okay.
so that we could all communicate with one another in
Okay.
peace.
Okay.
It was a really, really difficult thing. It's- he would just be literally climbing the walls. You just
Now that's a lot.
you put on a video of Mary Poppins and he'd be using the furniture to be the chimney tops and running from one side to the other.
And it's hard because people judge you. Well, why don't they
Oh,
why don't they do this? Why don't she have more control? Why don't you
yes,
spank him? Why don't you do
yes,
this? Because that's not what it is.
no,
And you want to be compassionate as a parent. You do
yep,
not want to continue to, beat or shame or uh, go through all this chaos, but
no.
it's disruptive to the whole household.
Oh, hugely. Yeah, yeah. The in the differences between different ADHD, um, so Bryn has attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Absolutely no question about the hyperactive bit. Now, then the eldest son had or has the inattentive version. So he was extremely quiet. And so he'd be hiding underneath the table at school or just being really shy and not communicating, not really getting involved. But one day, very unusual, isn't it, for a young person who's especially in Australia. But the principal, I said to him, test him out. His general knowledge is good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the
And
principal
then
said,
I noticed, I'm sorry,
so
I noticed that a lot of these children are brilliant. I
they
had
are.
one little kid, his mom kept trying to shush him. Don't talk to her, don't bother her. He
Yep,
told me everything about dinosaurs. I mean, from the
yep,
inception. He knew that. I have another friend that is brilliant on the piano, mathematics, but they're
that's it.
trapped inside this other bubble.
Yep, they are. So the principal took him aside and asked him, so who's Bill Clinton having an affair with? And our boy replied, Monica Lewinsky. So, for the time, it was perfect. We were able to proudly say, hey, there's nothing wrong with him. We've just got to get this happening because he had a very, very different ADHD than what the youngest one did. And the middle son has, well, it still does too. It's comprehension. So
Hmm.
it's going in, but it's not, the words are jumbling inside, and then the comprehension of what you were trying to get through
Right, right,
has to
right.
be really assessed. Mm.
Okay, so now you've got one child with one diagnosis, the second child, the second diagnosis, and then comes the third child.
Yep.
Could you tell that there was something special?
Um, I knew that there was something different between them, but I can honestly say to you that the youngest took so much of my thinking and energy and everything in the early days that I really wasn't aware, and I had no one around me to tell me. Wasn't anybody that really knew what ADHD was.
Mm-hmm.
When my mum found out, and she lived across the road, and I asked her to look after the youngest, she went back to old school and, do your homework, and yelling and
Yeah,
screaming and
yeah,
all that
yeah.
stuff. because she just didn't get it. I said, he's different. You can't work with him like that. So it was really at the time an unknown. Medication was just sort of being dished out, and that was unknown. They certainly didn't have the amount of different varieties you can get in medication now. Um, it was a long haul, and it wasn't until around about the age of probably 15, I think, the eldest really figured that he had it and he knew that it was a different kind. And when my eldest went to high school, for instance, what a huge change. He struggled because for simply you're going from primary school and you got the one class, one teacher,
Right.
it's all happening there. Then you go to high school, and
Right.
for an ADHD, you then got a different class, a different teacher,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you go to your locker. You've got to get all your books out and do all of that, know which books to get, and then take them to a different room, a different teacher, and a different subject. It blew his mind. And we were called in so often, like I'm not kidding, fortnightly to explain to the teacher why he's missing his classes, why he turned up late, all these things. It really would bring me to tears. I was just really at a loss at the time of how am I going to work with this situation.
How was he handling that socially? Making friends or having any friends. I mean, again, this is a very tight knit community. Everybody knows everybody.
Absolutely.
And so, the whispers, are there friends there that he had that he played with after school that would support him? Or
Yep.
were they bullying him? What was his?
The youngest was bullied a lot. The eldest, I think, stayed under the radar, very similarly to the way young girls have ADHD.
Mhm.
He was just
Able to mask
masking.
it.
He
Yeah.
was masking and hiding, and he was just able to somehow get along. But he did have a sense that there was something not quite right. So when I pulled him out in, I'm not sure where you're at in US terms, but year nine,
Hmm.
we'd been at school for 9 years. So I was managing an adult education center at the time, and I said, "Come with me. We're going to do this differently." So we decided retail Cert 1 on Mondays. And then I took him to the local tech school, and he chose to do building and construction. So we were doing that as a pre-apprenticeship thing for him to try it out on Tuesdays. I said, still 3 days of the week there. So we then did IT, Cert 1, and he ended up helping the teacher with the old folk in the room, which was so beautiful. I was so proud of him. And I said, there's still 2 more days to go. So he chose reluctantly to do engineering, like as in welding
Right.
at the tech school.
Right.
Absolutely perfect for him because it meant he was going to and from work or school with me,
Right. 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 Right.
and he'd be able to talk to me about it. But one teacher, one room, very, very simple. And he decided then he'll do engineering after he'd done that for a couple of months.
Wow.
And then we got him an apprenticeship in doing that. So he ended up making truck trailers in aluminium. So he excelled at that. So
Look at
that
that.
was
Look at that. Won't God
perfect.
do
Yeah.
it? Yes, He will. Yes, He will.
Yeah.
Now, what about the middle child? There's always that middle child, bless their heart,
Yep.
because they're figuring the oldest one's got it all figured out. The youngest one is being babied, and I'm being neglected.
Yeah.
And you said that
So
you said he was pretty shy and introverted.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And he was very artistic. He did so many. I ended up buying him a complete pad that was blank, and he would just fill that up with so much stuff.
Mm.
His total interest was in diesel engines, so it was a natural progression to end up in an apprenticeship for diesel mechanics.
Mm.
But of course, when you got to the study part, it was the comprehension was a difficult thing. But we didn't say anything, and he didn't say anything to get accommodations at the school. So we just stuck with that, and he got through, which is brilliant. And then he did the apprenticeship. He went from there to he now owns his own B doubles. and he's got a collection of really old antiques, tractors. Huge. He had to
Oh,
actually build a shed to be able to contain all these
wow.
tractors, and he's extremely neat. So he shared the bedroom with the youngest, and it was so incredible. He said to me that both of them were in the room. He said, I've drawn up an imaginary line in here, and I've told him that's his space and he can make all the mess there, but stay out of my space because
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
he
Okay,
had his
so now
bed
you
made
got the
every yeah, had his bed made every morning and everything was absolutely spot on. He shone in amongst our chaos, I can tell you. He was
wow.
very, yeah, but he says to me now that he knows that that's what he's got. Yeah. He's more of he's got the anxiety side of it.
Okay.
Anxiety hits a number of people, which I see often as a mental health advocate. Mm.
Now you got the baby boy.
Yeah, well, that's the one I've mostly spoken about, the baby boy. He's now he's driving B doubles. He actually did the B double license and
What's the
thought,
what's a B double? I don't
oh, sorry, it's probably a road train for you.
a road
So
train.
it's the semi trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, so one truck and it's joined to another truck.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, without the engine. So it's quite long. And he went away to do that because you have to pay a lot of money to get that license.
Okay, okay.
And he said, "Oh, I couldn't believe it, Mum. I actually got the license."
Wow.
So that was so exciting, so special. And he's now renovating a house, and he's got a family of two little girls and a wife. So he's really got himself together. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
telling you, I'm
yeah,
telling you, you have been blessed in abundance. But then you got a bonus child, your husband.
yeah.
When did he figure it out? Because I hear a lot of people, okay, figuring out that they have uh, ADHD, autism in their later years, in their 30s or 40s, again, because we did not have the sophistication of the diagnoses at
No,
that time.
no,
And they go into the workplace and they wonder why I can't hold a job, why I can't pay attention, why I can't complete assignments. And what I've heard is that it is not categorized as a quote unquote disability in the workplace.
no. Which
You
I
know,
find is extraordinary.
me too, because you can have an adjustable workstation, or you can have
Yeah,
wheelchair access, or you can
yeah,
have, you know, more telephones with higher volume for hearing impaired.
yep,
But then, okay, let's be realistic. Everyone on the spectrum is different.
yep.
How do you accommodate for that person? How do you incorporate them in a, I'll just say, for the sake of argument, maybe an assembly line, something that they're doing repetitively might be easier than giving them a task of maybe marketing or sales or promotions where you have to incorporate other people and other critical thinking skills.
Mm,
How does an employer assess
hmm.
that fairly?
Okay. So after all of these things going on, as well as me studying ADHD and working with people and being neurotypical myself,
Mm-hmm.
I have assessed things probably a little bit different than if an ADHD coach would perhaps. But I see that um, if a person is more aware of what their traits are and what their strengths are, there's a better chance. And if they're, worked with to learn self advocacy and not be fearing what may be told to them, I think that's an important step. I think as we've now become more and more aware of ADHD, it's in this phase at the moment where, oh,
Right,
ADHD
right, right,
feeling. But
right,
I
right.
think if all ADHDers were able to assess where they're at, what are their strengths, how can they work with themselves, they're going to be in a better position to be able to say to an employer, look, if you don't mind, I really just fade out after about a half an hour. Is it okay if I just go for a wander around the office for a moment and then come back to my work? And then hopefully that is accepted. It's about learning what you need to do. If you need to wear music and headphones, which is a common one also to distract the mind to help focus, lots and lots of those accommodations can be used, and it shouldn't be a shameful thing to be able to ask an employer. And I really would be in the hope that most employers now recognize that there is accommodation, and it's really hard to get the right staff. I think, because I've been an
I mean,
employer most of my life.
but I'm looking at your boys. They have, you've got people out here that are just, no disrespect to the trash man,
Yep,
picking up trash. You've got one son that's driving a 18 wheeler. That's what we call them,
yep,
18 wheelers. You've got another son that's in engineering.
yep,
And all of these gifts.
yeah,
But
yep.
you did the groundwork as the
Oh,
mother.
thank
You
you.
well,
Oh,
I mean, you just show that compassion and that love.
yeah.
So with your husband, is he mildly on the spectrum, or he?
Okay, so he hasn't been assessed. And over the years, I used to just see him. I'll have to go out there. He needed me to be beside him and be motivated and do the garden and whatever because he was so totally distracted, hated lists, so on and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And now like it's only been in the last 3 years, I recognize that's what's going on here. He's got ADHD
Wow.
because he needed a buddy and I'm his buddy. He
Mm-hmm.
always calls me out to get confirmation that he's done it well or right.
Right.
And yeah, and he needs a week's notice. I used to make a joke that he needs a week's notice to know what's going to happen, or he couldn't cope with it. And it's no joke.
Wow.
They need the slowness of understanding how to go about things. So if before we go shopping now, this is what's changed in the last few years. Before we go shopping, I say, okay, let's just have a look at what it is that we need, and you tell me what you think you need. Let's put it on a list. He loves cooking, so he's been wanting to do that in the last year or so. I've had to show him that just grab the packet mix and then take that with you and walk through the aisles and take the ingredients off that, go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
It otherwise all these things become cloudy. They're not quite jumping
Right.
out.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So,
And so he does that. And do you think that it was genetic that the
oh,
boys?
yeah. Yeah. Well, years ago when my husband's father was still with us, and he knew that the youngest had ADHD, he said, I think I might have that. But I tell you, April, do you know what's happened since? Wayne's both sisters have it. They've realised they've got it. And then their two daughters have got it. And one of the daughters has a son that has it.
Yeah,
So,
see, I work with people here at UCSD, and we are really looking at genetics,
yeah,
um, genotyping, and your DNA.
yep.
Something has blossomed in the last 20, 25 years because I have never seen boys 1 in 3, one in 1 in 5. And it's mostly boys. Girls have it too, but again, girls can mask it differently, and they're underdiagnosed a lot of times.
They are.
They're quick to
Yep.
label a boy because he's rambunctious or whatever. Oh,
Mm,
yeah, 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 yeah.
mm.
But also there's all the possibility of being misdiagnosed.
Wow, I come
An
across that a
example,
lot.
yeah, example for me is my daughter, uh, which she had a version of it, but not what the teacher assessed. So,
Mm-hmm.
brains, don't be so quick to assume that the teacher knows. The teacher is not a bona fide psychologist, psychiatrist, pediatrician. They just going by the mechanics of what the other children are. There's teachers out there that don't even have kids, that don't understand. My daughter would be not disruptive, but distracted. She'd go play with
Mm-hmm.
the turtle. She'd go do this. She'd go do this. Everybody's on the mat, listening to the story. Not my kid. And I asked her, I said, what's wrong? She says, Mommy, she says, I don't like reading. She says, because the kids tease me because I don't read as fast as they do. She says, and when I look at the page, she said, you know, when the mouse hits the cat over the head and all those little Tweety birds start going around in a circle? And I was like, yeah, she was telling me that she was dizzy and that she couldn't see. She had no other language. This is all that she knew in her formative years. It was my first child. I didn't know what was going on. And the teacher goes, oh, well, you know, we probably want to give her something to calm her down. Well, she wasn't disruptive. She was distracted.
Mm.
And so I said, well, I'm not seeing this behavior at home. So I took her to a special reading group called Sylvan Learning Center. And they helped me assess the fact that, again, she was behind on her reading because she couldn't see. Then she had a problem with the comprehension because she wasn't up with the class. I had her in that class for about 6 or 7 months. And let me tell you, when Harry Potter came out, that child sat there and consumed the whole book. I'm still trying to figure out some of the stuff they were talking about. She's an avid reader, um, but there was other things. So don't be so quick to
No,
label your child.
no.
There's a barrage of things that could be going on,
Yep,
you
yep,
know?
exactly.
Now let's ask you about you. When have you had time for you? Now?
Probably now in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
living your
So
best life right now?
yeah, it is actually. And I think now that I'm developing my own business again online, and I'm working full time and I love helping people. So working in mental health as an advocate is pretty powerful. So,
So tell
I
me a little bit
really
about
am
what the
enjoying it.
work you do. You know, you run across these families or individuals that are, for whatever reason, on the spectrum or need other services.
Yeah.
How do you fill in the gap for them?
This is in my business you're asking, or
Well, let's kind of springboard it. Let's take it from your business and then migrate it into your business,
okay,
what you want to do from a
sure.
professional career into
Yeah.
your private career.
Uh, okay, all right. So I'll go back a step and go from the point of when this started. I was working with 17 to 24-year-olds in what was called um, Second Chance Program. 17 to 24-year-olds were in the justice system.
Mm.
And when working with these young people over 5 years, I found that many of them were undiagnosed ADHD.
Mm, mm, mm.
So, and I really looked back at it and I would say half of them. So what would take place is their parents wouldn't even understand it, just bad teenage behavior. Um, get out, we don't want you here anymore. Then they've got IVOs on them. Then you'd find the sister's got an IVO on them, and so on and so on and
An
so on.
idea.
Yeah, intervention order. So it's put on by the police
Mm.
where they're not allowed within whatever they decide, 200 meters of the house. They're not allowed to have anything to do with the parents. Just really sad, really, really sad. And you put that into an ADHD situation. ADHD is, I see them as being extremely sensitive. So I'm neurotypical and can be sensitive, but certainly look, many of ADHDers are 10 times sensitive. That's not such a bad thing, but that's when they really need to understand where they're coming from. But these young kids were just being kids as they knew to be, and then they're out, no longer with a home. Then they get caught up with the wrong people. Then they're couch surfing, catching on to what the new scene is on drugs and so on. Next thing they're caught up in the justice system. Many times they were caught up in the justice system just for stealing a chook because they were hungry.
Now they say that you can be emancipated at 14 years old in Australia. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. So you're a baby and you have no idea what's going on. You get out there, you meet, the boogeyman. You
yep,
start self-medicating
yep,
because again, this is a way to cope or what you
yep,
think is coping. And one
yep.
thing snowball into another. And now
That's
they're caught up in the
exactly
system.
right.
Let me tell you a story. I've got a family member
Yep,
that was diagnosed with ADHD, autism, and schizophrenia at
yep,
8 years old. At 8 years old, he has been in and out of the prison system, hospitals, his entire life. He's institutionalized. He does not know how to function.
no,
I gave him a simple task of putting something in the mailbox and taking something to the coin laundry. Came back with the mail and the laundry. Did not know how to do it. Was never taught the mechanics of that. And
no.
it's awful.
It's
It's
really
awful.
sad.
It's
And
really
to
sad.
top it off, if you do have ADHD in prison here, you don't have access to ADHD medication. So you're in there with this behavioral issues,
Mm.
but you're not allowed to have ADHD medication. And I find that to be a really backward step. I would love to see that change. And the other thing is that, we have to wait up sometimes to 12 months for a psychiatrist that's going to be able to assess and provide a prescription for ADHD drugs. It's way too long. And then you've got, which is just creeping in at the moment, but the GPs, I think, really should be playing a bigger role in because they're accessible. They should be trained into assessing ADHD and providing everybody if they need a script to get things moving. Many of my clients have been mums and they really struggle with it. They didn't know they had it. They're waiting to be assessed because they've looked online to find out, oh, I think that's what I've got. But to get the prescription is just terrible that they have to wait so long.
And it's mental.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
is.
it's a special cocktail.
Yeah.
Ritalin might not work for everybody. You might need
No.
Adderall or you might need whatever. There could be two or three medications that you need. And so you
Yep.
have to stick with the brains until you get the right recipe for success.
Yep, exactly. And yeah, it is an experiment and it could take 6 to 12 months after you've actually seen the psychiatrist. So it does take time.
So
And it's
that would be the
very, very
proper.
frustrating and it's expensive.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. But so what is the course of action? Someone feels that their child might, fall within a different paradigm or pyramid.
Yes,
They should go to they should keep a journal, number one, of
yes,
what's going on, the activities, and a food journal. A lot of
yep,
times people say that the food or what triggers them. Is
yep,
it, the dust in the air? Is it
yep,
noise? Is it all these kind of things? So try to have that so that you can
yep.
go into the GP.
Time of going to bed, time of going to sleep. What did they do before they went to bed? How
Are they
much
sleeping?
how
Are
much
they
time
writing?
online? The blue lights can play havoc with an ADHD. So, there needs to be a little bit of discipline of 1 or 2 hours before bedtime that there is no blue light and they need to start doing activities that slow them down, just like you would for a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
Same deal.
All right. So you go to your
Hmm.
pediatrician first,
Yep.
give them all
Yes,
this
for a
information,
young person.
and
Yep.
then you would ask the pediatrician, do you think that we should take this to the next level and maybe have my child tested? I
Yep.
have another friend that the school thinks that the son has ADHD. I think he's gifted. Matter of
Yep.
fact, I know he's gifted.
Yep.
Parents, your child can be gifted and there'd be a
Yep.
challenge there too.
Yep.
It's hard for them to adjust. It's hard for them to make friends. It's hard for them to cope in certain social
Yep.
because they're uber smart.
Yep.
They're bored. They're distracted with reading that. His
Yep.
conversation with me was one of a 14-year-old, and he was about 7 years old.
Yep.
And she says, well, the teacher said, well, the teacher, God bless him, but they don't know everything. I said,
No.
have him tested to see if he is gifted.
Yeah. I wouldn't hesitate if you feel that they're struggling at any age, just make the appointment because you're going to have to wait a long time, and maybe that's time to be able to save up for it, depending on how much it is wherever you are. But very clearly, just get them checked, have an assessment. I hate labels, but if this label's going to mean that they're going to get the accommodations and the support that they need, then that's where we should be heading.
Now you have socialized health care. Everybody in Australia has health care.
Yep,
Okay. But brains here in the United States, we struggle for some reason. We pay all this money and taxes and richest country in the world, and we can't go
yep,
see a doctor. And then if we do, we got it. That's a whole nother story. But
right. Yep,
when you have these countries that have socialized health care,
yep,
brain, you have to understand that you still got to wait. Just because
yep.
it's paid for, that doesn't mean that there is a specialist available. That doesn't mean that you don't fall within a certain guideline. That doesn't mean that your medication is covered. That means that you're able to see a doctor and
Hmm.
hopefully you get the right diagnosis. Am I
Mm.
right or am I
Yep,
wrong?
yep, you are right. Yep. I
And
have come
any,
across, in my circles, I've come across some that are nurse practitioners, and nurse practitioners are now able to assess. They won't be able to prescribe, so that helps. And I have found a nurse practitioner that is actually connected with a psychiatrist, and you can actually have the assessment and the prescription within 3 weeks. So
wow,
there are the little bits and pieces that are out in the community you can get onto, but they're like little hidden secrets.
right, right.
Um,
And then
yeah,
you have to take in consideration if you're living in a small rural town
yep,
like you were in. I mean,
yep.
the doctor is the doctor, and he's the doctor, the surgeon, the he does
Yeah, he
everything.
was the anesthetist and the midwife and the whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, he
And
was
you've got to
everything.
drive God knows
Yep,
how far to get to a hospital that
yep,
has all of these things. So please take
yep,
that into consideration. Put on your patience. Contact somebody like Suellen that will hold your hand, that has been through it,
yep.
and understands. And again, didn't give up on her kids.
No,
Didn't
never.
give up on it. Each one of them had a particular zone of genius, and she worked with that. And again, like I said, sacrificing herself. I know that you did. I know that
Mm,
you did. There's days that you probably want to go get a manicure or a pedicure, or just have some peace and quiet,
mm,
or not cook dinner, or just sit there
mm.
and watch a movie or read a book.
Yep,
Your light switch was constantly on. So let's
yep.
ask you some fun questions in a transition
Yeah,
here.
great.
If you could be a flower in the garden, what flower would you be?
Gerbera,
Why?
because it's bright and happy.
Right and happy. If you were an appliance in the kitchen, what appliance would you be?
Mm. My NutriBullet.
You like to make smoothies and sauces and all that good
Yep,
stuff?
yep,
Okay.
all that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I think it's just the best invention ever.
I know. I'd be the refrigerator. I want to be something.
Oh, right.
I'd be somewhere cool. You have to come visit me often, and you so heavily dependent upon me. It's like, oh my God, when the
Okay.
refrigerator goes out, everything just goes to hell in
Oh.
a handbasket. If you could time travel, go back to the past, stay here in the present, project to the future, where would you go, Sue Ellen?
Now, right now,
Right now.
right now, I feel that I'm wiser and I have so much that I want to offer and give. And oh, look, I'm getting goosebumps telling you because it just really means so much to me to have come this far and learnt so much. I just really want to be able to give and provide for others so that they can learn from me.
In the interest of giving to others, you have created a program. Tell us a little bit about the program.
Yeah, sure. So, well, yeah, I found along the way that people were looking on my website and they'd contact me and say, "Oh, have you got courses?" And I thought after a few of these, I thought, maybe that's what I need to do. So It's taken a little while to get up, but I've now got a few courses in line. So right at the moment, we've got one for professionals. So that's both for men and women adults. And that's called Invisible to Impactful. So, we've talked about people masking. This is to provide people with really good foundation strategies that they're going to be able to work with to get their workplace, understanding them, but they have to first understand themselves. So that's what I teach. The next one coming up is also the parents. I love the idea of working with parents and being able to provide them with the necessary strategies and skills and support because, like me, I didn't have any support. But if you've got somebody on your side that understands what you're going through, I think that's so helpful. And the other thing, of course, coming from my background, is relationships. So there's a course for relationships. And again, I'm coming from a neurotypical place, which I think is rather pleasant and different for those coming on board because for us to work with relationships, it may be that both partners have ADHD, but it also might be only one does. So we can actually have a chat about how best to each understand one another.
Right,
And I
right.
feel like I'm in the forefront of that.
Okay, well, and that's good. And that's where
Mm,
someone needs to lead the charge because you need a partner. And
yeah,
again, in relationships, partners leave.
yeah,
Oh, okay, we've got one child, the oldest child, he's, a challenge. And now we have two children. Now we have three children, and all of this just snowballs. And he's trying to go and work and, be the breadwinner. And you're trying
yep,
to be the everything to everybody else. So
yep,
I get it. I totally get it. Um,
yeah.
you know, uh, the corporate setting, are corporations or companies or incarcerated institutions, are they listening to what you're saying? Do they hear you?
Okay. So incarcerated institutions here in Australia, like I said before, they're just not even providing ADHD medication. I'd love to see that change. So I don't know that they're really into it. The corporations, especially the big ones, I know that there's been a lot of work done. So, especially the US versions of like Google and Microsoft and so on, they are extremely supportive of it. And then we get into our Australian ones, the likes of Telstra, big corporations. They're really looking after their employees. I think it gets a little bit trickier when we get to small business. You have someone with ADHD and you're starting from scratch, but you're only really looking after your business and you don't want the complication. That would be the attitude. That was the attitude of you don't want the complication. Just no, I don't think I want to deal with this.
Well, complication or discrimination.
Oh, same, yeah, same
Because
here.
you don't
Yeah.
realize that the person that you just discarded,
Yeah.
again, could be the next big engineer.
Yep,
And
exactly.
I am working with people and they've been guests on my show. So go back and listen to some of the interviews, Brains. And Suellen, I'm going to turn you on to them that are using AI and that artificial intelligence for mental health, assessing, medical care, creating the documents that you need to take into your facility have been a game changer.
Yep, it has been
It's been a game changer.
extraordinary.
Exactly. So we have to
Mm.
understand how to partner with this new world because, again, these individuals are trapped, I believe, transition,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
transition. And
yeah.
it's a beautiful thing that we have people like you
Mhm.
that are, again, standing strong, 10 toes down. And we appreciate you. We love you and we honor you. Tell my brains, please, how to get in contact with you if they want more information. They want to get information on the course. And it can be all over the world. This is not just
Yeah,
because she's in Australia, doesn't mean that you can't talk to her in Mississippi. So
yep,
just go
exactly.
online. So, how do
Yep.
they get in contact with you?
Okay, so the website is ADHD Worksite at, what did I say? ADHDworksite.com.au. And the Facebook, we've got a Facebook page. We've got a group page people can join so that everyone can just have their own information they want to share. That is also ADHD at Work. And so they're welcome to come and join us there. We're just starting up our workshops, so they'll be once a month on Fridays with a subject of each. So if they want to find out more about that, and they can join our email list and be kept in the loop.
Well, Brains, I want you to live your best life. I want your kids to reach their highest and greatest good. I want you to be able to have some free time to go get your nails done, to go for a walk on the beach with your partner, and don't have to worry about what's going to happen when you come home.
No.
I want us to be able to understand, respect, and appreciate, but also educate and teach people that are different than us. Be it your skin color, your mental capacity, your physical ability. The world is very tender now, and it's changing very rapidly. So here, go to the edge, and we're going to try to help you navigate through the storm, okay? Suellen, you are the best. Brains, I need you to go in and love, like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to Spreaker. We got to raise those numbers. We got to get this vibration and this frequency out to people because, love is in need of love today. And we love you. Thank you, Suellen. You're the best.
Thank you, April, and thank you, Brains.
All right. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you.